right, and the meeting is now being recorded. So I know Town Manager Ed Morris will be joining us momentarily, but until then, we can kind of get started with basic introduction. So as part of our meeting, the board chair will kind of bring us to order at our time frame. I will help and make sure that this is, recording and supporting the board chair as things move along. But for the purposes of today, we'll just kind of go with the flow, and we will be setting up the board later in the meeting. So just as a basic introduction, my name is Emily Curtis. I have been a part of the Enfield Community Nursing Conversation since it started back in 2021. I am the Public Safety Administrative Coordinator here, which is a huge mouthful. But that's all of the things that I do here for the town. I work mainly out of the police department, but I also serve for fire and EMS, both kind of as a resident point of contact for both of them, but also for other administrative purposes and support. So, and that was actually part of the reason why I was very eager to join the committee, is because I review all of our ambulance data, all of our call data on an annual basis. So I keep track of all of those things, especially the falls and, things that are causing people to be calling 911, et cetera. And if you want to just go around and introduce yourself briefly and kind of what brought you here.
Sure. I'm Sheila Bassett. I'm a registered nurse. I have been now going on 19 years. And when I saw that there was a need, I felt like it was important that I serve the community, because I feel like I have a insight into this, because I've done home care, hospice, I've done inpatient clinics. So I've done a variety of things, but especially doing home care and hospice, I kind of have that perspective of what's going on in people's homes. And it's something I just felt drawn to that I should be helping with.
Hi everyone, my name is April DeGoma. It sounds just like the month April, just with an F, because my mom is fancy, I guess. I joined here similarly because when the call came out, my background is in health administration, so I'm on the administrative end of, not the clinical end, but I worked a lot with healthcare corporations, and also currently in my role, I work at the Association for American Medical Colleges. So I'm very familiar with the space in terms of just discussing, the topic at hand here and what we're charged with. And I thought I would really want to lend my hand as someone who also lives in the town. And I think it's important to consider what we're considering here today. So happy to be here.
I'm Steve Powell. I'm retired. I was a member of the previous committee for most, not all of its lifetime. And I just want to see this effort succeed. That's fine.
My name is Cindy Loring. I'm an RN also, and I've been a resident in Enfield for a long time. I'm neighbors with them all. And let's see, over 2 years ago, I got introduced to Kristen Barnum, the executive director for Nurse Connection, and she was very instrumental in helping other towns to start community nursing. And at the time, I was looking around for something to do. I had recently become unemployed, so she recruited me to start working on this, and I contacted Emily because I knew she had a key position in the town, and we went from there to make up a group of people. We've had a working group for 2 years that got us to this place. Yay. So happy to be here.
I'm Parker Hinshaw. We're new to the community, so we're trying to figure out where we might fit along the way. My wife, who's on the video there, we're both healthcare information systems people. Jean is also an educator. We've been in hospitals for a long time. Not anymore. Now we're focused on the outpatient space. We've done some things around nurse staffing along the way. And we're very interested in aging in the home, just in general, and have an interest in that. That's kind of what drives us these days. So We're semi-retired, but pretty busy.
Myself,
Yes, absolutely.
I'm Ed Morris, town manager. I won't be sitting in on a lot of your committee meetings, but I'll bump into some here and there. Yeah, I'm here. Hopefully you guys see, one thing I do like to point out is when the select board goes through this process, I've been impressed since I've been here at the thought they put into who they put on boards and the trying to find a real diversity of people with different backgrounds to try to make a board that's looking at whatever aspect or issue that we're looking at from different angles. So we get a really good spectrum of what's going on. So I hope you see that in this committee. I do think it's going to be a good committee to put forward and put together. We'll do the rest of the agenda and I'll see what I can put forward for you guys tonight to help get this committee kick-started in the right direction.
I think one of the first things that might be best to start with is reviewing just meeting conduct and some of the basic expectations for us. I know that everybody, just to confirm, everybody received the information that our assistant town manager, Lisa, had passed out prior, so that we all have kind of all the written pieces of it, but we could just kind of do a 1,000-foot landscape.
Yeah, I can hit the highlights, but it's really just focusing around the open meeting law that we have. It's RSA 91A. If you ever get bored and want to read something, that'll put you to sleep. But there's a lot of little rules and details in there that definitely myself and Emily can help wade through. But there's a few rules that kind of get the committees, I'm going to say, in trouble, if you will. But the big things, not meeting in a quorum unless it's a legally warned meeting. Staff will warn the meeting, those types of things. So you don't really have to worry about that. Just work with Emily and we'll make sure that they get warned properly and ahead of time for the meeting. Really what that boils down to is that a majority of this group should not meet ever to talk about nursing or community nursing when it's not in this room or in the room that we warn for a public meeting. It's easy to do at times and it's really easy to do over email. So I highly recommend that we're not sending stuff back and forth via email. It's really easy to cross that line or get into the gray area anyway. Sometimes it feels like it makes it really hard to do your job, but the government, if you will, sets it up that way on purpose. So everything's discussed at this table where the public can attend and listen and know what's going on. So it's going to be one of the big changes from the last committee to this committee, is now we're an official town committee. You had a question?
Yeah, just to get precise, this committee has 7 members, or are you also a committee member?
I'm not a committee member.
And you are, so that would make 7.
Yeah. Yes, and Donna, I apologize. I just recognized that I skipped you for introductions. I am so sorry.
That's okay. I say I'm also on the committee. I just can't be there today. Hello, everybody. My name is Donna Pigeon. I'm a physical therapist. I work at Dartmouth Health. I've been there for 32 years. Much of the time, and I work in the ambulatory area. I work with geriatrics and people with different neurologic disorders. I also co-chair the New Hampshire Falls Risk Reduction Task Force, which is our statewide falls coalition. And I've worked at the Geriatric Center of Excellence, previously the Centers for Health and Aging, on various grants since 2015, which is the majority of my work now, implementing community-based falls prevention programs. So preventing falls in older adults is my passion with what I do with my work. So I'm really excited to be a part of this committee. I've worked with community nurses in my job for many years in various towns, and I just know what a critical role they play in the community. So, and I was also part of the grassroots committee along with Steve and Emily and Cindy. So I'm just really excited to be a part of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I will say, I just want to say really quickly, I apologize ahead of time, but I have a standing first Wednesday of the month meeting at 6 that I lead, so I'm going to have to leave probably between 5 and 10 of 6. That's the only reason I'll be hopping off today, so sorry about that.
No worries. Hop off when you need to, and we'll be sure to be in touch with follow-up for the actual meeting schedule when because that'll be a little bit later in the meeting. So if you miss it, we'll make sure it gets sent out and communicated.
A couple other few little things.
Sorry, could I just finish that question? So there's 7 members on the committee, a quorum is 4.
A quorum would be 4.
Did I understand you correctly to be saying that 3 of us can meet, and that's not an official meeting, but not 4?
You can. The caution that I will throw out is if 3 of you meet and then one of you go talk with someone else about what you talked about, you just technically
made it
broke
4.
the law.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, I just sort of wanted to.
So, I mean, that kind of stuff happens and we just need to be really careful about that and the perception of meaning behind. One thing we do on Mascoma Lakeside Park Committee that I can see this committee maybe getting into is creating a small subcommittee or 2 to work on fundraising or something like that, you could meet a little bit outside and then report back with this is what we're doing. But sometimes it's hard to work on putting a letter together or something for fundraising efforts, sitting around this table trying to hash it out. It's easier to get together, write the letter, and then come in front of the group. But we just have to make sure it's a smaller non-quorum group that's working on those types of projects. And I'd recommend making it very public that this small group is gonna go work on this project and report back.
Thank you.
So we can do those things with the quorum. The law right now, it may be changing, but the law right now is a quorum of the committee has to be present in the room that the public can come and visit. So 4 of you cannot join online and call it a meeting. You have to have at least 4 in the room and then other people can join online. If there's people online and you're making a motion for something, it needs to be a roll call vote. You can't just do all in favor, say aye. You have to ask each individual person and document that. So it's the way the law is written. So other than that, I can't really think of much else. If things come up, we can help steer you through that. But those are kind of the main things that I see people do and maybe not know what they're doing. The other thing is if 4 of you show up at the concert at the Shaker, it's not an unwarned meeting, as long as you're not transacting business of the here. I mean, we're a small community, you're gonna run into each other.
And when it comes to the agenda recommendations or requests or anything like that, they go to one point person being the chair.
I would recommend things go probably through the chair unless they want to direct that things come to you and you work with the chair to do that.
Okay.
Either way, it may be easier since you're on staff working that
Mhm.
items come to you, but technically it's the chair that sets the agenda.
Okay, perfect. Were there any other questions or in review of the information that you received or any questions further on meeting conduct? So as I
Not
explained
yet.
earlier, yeah, like we
There was so many
come together, we do our call to order. I'll make sure everybody knows that we're recording and we'll kind of move forward. At the next meeting, we'll have a set of minutes to approve. The meeting minutes will have gone out with the agenda so that everybody has time to look at them, vote on approval at that meeting, and we'll move forward with items. And then at that point, when we're done, we will adjourn and pretty straightforward.
Is there a set ending time, or we just choose, or we just go until we run out of things to say?
Well, it depends on also what's happening in the room. So tonight there's a meeting at 7 o'clock. I don't recommend we go for an hour and a half, but if we would be running right up against that. So usually gauging about an hour for discussions. It can go over, but that is part of the kind of complicating factor of the meeting availability and the meeting space availability. That kind of forced me into the Wednesday at 5:30 for now. There are other Wednesdays available where we can review that.
I would say it's probably good practice too to try to stay around that hour mark because things start to break down a little bit after that. If you know you're gonna have a longer meeting, you may prepare for that, but on a normal business type meeting, an hour, probably plenty.
Good.
Before, Donna has to go, would we be able to, figure out, our regular meeting time? Because if we keep doing it on this Wednesday, she can never stay for the whole meeting.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. So as mentioned, we'll come back to the organization of the board. We'll start with the meeting schedule then. So the Wednesdays are available at 5:30 in this room, which is ideal because it allows us to have the OWL available. We can record the sessions and they can be then posted publicly. It is possible to meet in other spaces, but we wouldn't have this available, but they would still be public meetings in that effect. But that is why I chose kind of this space and this day. There are other Wednesdays available, the second, third, or fourth Wednesday of the month. So if we wanted to shift that, that would be my recommendation, but open to obviously any kind of scheduling conflicts issues that we might otherwise need to discuss.
the second and third weeks are usually better for me than the fourth week. When I
Okay,
was looking ahead for like the next 6 months.
okay. Yeah, so the second or third,
Either's fine with you.
I think I'm on call, in the evening times, starting at 4:30, so it makes it kind of like I may get a call or I may be out, and that's every other week. So
so it may.
obviously this isn't,
week.
so it may,
Yeah.
yeah, depending
Okay,
on how that works.
well, I think we'll do the best we can to work with
Yeah.
that as it comes
Yeah.
along and, you know,
And I may be present even if I am on call, so I don't know. I just don't know.
Go with
that's
the flow.
perfectly fine. I think,
Right.
yeah, that's fine. So second or third Wednesday, is there any preference to either one?
Well, this is the first Wednesday.
This is the first,
So
yeah.
maybe the third, I don't know if that would always fall on my, I'm not good with timeline. So,
Not if it's every other week.
not if it's every other, so.
I'm gonna try to look at the schedule for this room quickly.
And it will be monthly?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, monthly meeting. We can create special meetings as if necessary, if needed. But it does need to be posted to the public at least 24 hours in advance with the agenda. So if there was an emergency meeting, it's possible, but not very likely. It looks like, I mean, the third Wednesday would work really well with the current schedule for the town. I think we would have quite a bit of flexibility with that for our needs. So even if we needed to start at half an hour later, something like that. But yeah, the third week at 5:30, would we like to keep it at 5:30?
Sure.
Okay.
That works for me. So third Wednesday at 5:30.
Okay with me.
All right. All right, then we can move on to the organization of the board. There is typically a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary position. Not sure if anybody has any questions regarding those positions.
This committee is gonna be simple. The chair will run the meeting. The vice chair will run the meeting if the chair's not there.
What does the secretary do?
Takes the meeting minutes that I then post to the town website for the public.
I thought she was.
so how in detail does like the meeting minutes need to be? Is it just really bulleted? Yeah,
By law, it needs to have any motions and decisions that are made,
okay,
the members that were present for the meeting. Couple other things, dates, and but we normally try to give a little synopsis of what was discussed, but
Mhm. Mhm.
it definitely does not need to be really detailed.
Okay.
I've been doing the minutes for the last 2 years, so I would respectfully decline to do that for a little while, take a break.
Although
It's hard to read and
Although
talk at the
she
same, write and talk at the same time.
she comes highly recommended.
I think, it would be helpful if we made up maybe once we get the minutes back from this meeting, at the next meeting and make up a standard,
Template.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
for us.
Yep. I can absolutely
It
help
looks
with
like
that, no
there's some
problem.
leeway with what we can put in and what we don't put in, and, but some things are mandated, so.
Yeah, and I'll always be a resource for help with those things. I've been doing minutes for the Budget Committee and the Board of Selectmen for 5 years now. So I have a pretty good amount of, experience with that. And if there's questions, I am more than happy to reach out to our Assistant Town Manager for further guidance, but I think that I make my own templates so that I have them for each meeting and they're ready to go. And especially if we kind of are keeping our meetings to an hour, it shouldn't necessarily entail a huge chunk of time outside of the meeting, so.
So
I'm trying to keep this for today regardless, but.
sorry. So Emily, so perhaps the template you have could be a template for this meeting as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we can make
Yep.
one.
Yep, I'll have a template for whoever. Yep, absolutely.
So we're looking for volunteers for positions right now.
Chair, vice chair, and secretary. If there is a volunteer ready, that's excellent.
I don't want to, but I could be secretary. Unless you vote me off that. bus after you see the first.
If you don't want to be secretary, I can do it.
No, I should do it. I mean,
Oh, okay.
no, it just depends on how much you want it.
I don't. No, it doesn't matter to me.
As we, one of the charges of the committee is, fundraising. And I know that Steve's been very involved with that in our informal committee. Are you still willing to have a big hand in the fundraising aspect of it?
Sure. Although
Because you were so good at it.
I actually think, Harrison Drinkwater was really good at
Yes.
it, and I provided him coffee at Lucky's
Yeah.
to keep him going. But, yeah, I certainly, but I think all of us are gonna need to
Right.
be involved in fundraising.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When that
Yeah.
comes up, but somebody to organize it.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of dividing and conquering here. If,
There's more than these three roles.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
And I was hoping that that might be a slot that you would be interested in considering on.
Is there anybody who has served in another public or town committee in a capacity that may be comfortable with kind of helping to lead the charge with being the chair? For,
And it's really running the meeting.
yeah.
So you
It's
have
running the
your,
meeting.
you have your agenda and then you
And
just,
you have me to help you make the agenda. And some of it too is gonna be me bringing information like from the nurses to say, hey, we have this information that we can present to the committee. And the chair's just like, okay, put it on the agenda. I can put it on the agenda. Like it's, some of it is really gonna be kind of self-created in
I
that
see
sense.
this one
It's,
being
yeah.
a little more you creating the agenda and saying, does this look good? Is there anything else we want to be talking about?
Mhm. And then running the meeting and then just ensuring that we have kind of the flow of, a motion and a second and, okay, all votes and, those kinds of things. It's,
I'm happy to chair if I chair my board for our community center, so it's okay if I do that. I don't mind unless somebody really wants to
Say
chair.
Unless someone else wants to do
I was
it, I
gonna
would
say.
entertain a motion.
Yeah, seconded and approved.
Well, do you want to make the motion? I can. I'm not.
Oh,
on the
we need a
committee.
motion. Well, that gives us a chair.
correct.
You
Yeah.
need a
But we can
motion.
start, yes, we need to start with the chair, vice chair, secretary. It doesn't really matter.
Motion
Way to
speech,
go.
I second the motion.
But-
Oh, no, I
So
make the
someone has to
You
motion.
make
make
the
the
motion.
yeah.
Yep.
I second the motion.
Thank you before.
I second that.
Could I get it?
I'll help run that. All in favor? Of the trio being, all
Yeah,
right. Opposed?
We could sing that.
any discussion?
Now
All
it's your
right,
meeting.
okay.
We need a vice chair.
So
I
we
would
need a
like to be
vice
vice
chair.
chair
You don't
unless
wanna be
someone
vice
else
chair.
wants it. I know you really want to be vice chair.
I would do that.
Okay.
I think a clinician should be the chairperson. I can be an extra set of hands and I have a little bit of experience in fundraising, so I can be helpful with that too.
Okay, so Cindy made a motion to request Mr. Hinshaw as vice chair.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think I make the motion though.
No.
No, I'm confirming that that is
Yeah.
what was presented as information, yeah.
Okay. Is
Do
there
we
a
have a
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Vice chair.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Yeah, the chair, vice chair, and now the coveted secretary.
I will defer to you. You,
I can do secretary if you're gonna be kind of
I'll reserve.
person
My role
leading
for-
the fundraising.
I will make a motion to elect Sheila as our secretary.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Great.
That's it.
You're doing a great job, Emily.
Like I can count to 6, you guys, this is great. All right, so that actually concludes our agenda for the evening. We do have other business where we invite public comment members, from members of the public, and then, I did have a couple of updates just kind of as the introductory, to offer to all of you. So I'll offer those updates quickly and then we'll open it to members of the public. So just as a kind of super extra quick catch up on all of the things that have been happening with community nursing. So the 2 community nurses that are contracted with the city of Lebanon and the paramedic who is a part of the mobile integrated health have presented to all of the departments that may be helpful and linked in the town of Enfield, including the FAST Squad, the fire department, the police department, our health officer, and our human services department. So all members of the town staff have been involved in kind of integrating this into our community where we might see it, where referrals may come from. And then I know that the community nurses also, they attended a luncheon that happened, a senior luncheon hosted by the Lionesses at the community building in December. So we are trying to make an effort to already get them kind of into the community, create opportunities for them to have meet and greets. Ideas for that are always welcome. I am in pretty constant communication with our nurses. So if there are recommendations, feel free to send them to me and I can pass that on and see what fits. I know that they were going to be looking to do a blood pressure clinic in one of our area housing units that seems to be a pretty popular spot. So that was something that they were thinking of for their outreach as well. So far, we've had 6 referrals in the town of Enfield for the month of January. And
Are they contracted through Lebanon?
Yes.
Is that correct?
yep, so it is a contract that is held between the town of Enfield and the city of Lebanon. And so they are employees of the city of Lebanon contracted to the town of Enfield.
And how much time are they spending in our community?
Up to 10 hours per week.
Mhm.
And that is, well, that also includes when they're making contact with Enfield residents and things like that. So even if they're doing phone calls,
Like
you know,
coordination.
visits and
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah, they try to coordinate their visits to more or less kind of like one day of the week so that they can kind of make one trip and consolidate as much of that time as possible so that they're utilizing it to the best of their purposes.
And it's not a hard stop.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like, oh, there's 10 hours, I'm going home. We contracted a 10-hour average, so
For each person. And then as the paramedic, is that
no, it's
So the-
total.
total?
So it's total 10 hours, yep. And then the paramedic is actually part of the mobile integrated health and I will invite the nurses and the paramedic to come and give you the same presentation that all of our staff members got. This was kind of just our kickoff. And then at the next meeting, I will speak with our chair about inviting them and having them come to present all of the information. So everybody here is also up to speed with kind of what the services are, what that looks like and how those referrals happen. Just as a quick shortcut, the paramedic is only referred by physicians at Dartmouth. And
Mhm.
so that's not something where we would necessarily say, oh, call the paramedic in Lebanon. But those services have been extended to include the town of Enfield. So that paramedic can now come out and serve our residents.
Do you know how many hours they put in January? Is that?
No.
Come later when they bill or how?
Yeah,
you know?
I'm not sure on how they're timing all of that out. I think the main information that I had collected was the referrals and where they're spending the majority of their time, which is mainly with, right now, it's the phone call follow-ups and making sure that they're doing their in-person meetings and, seeing what our community members are needing. So that's kind of where the kickoff point for that was. And then to date, so the goal for the grassroots committee was to raise $75,000, which would get us through year 1 and year 2, which included a year 2 increase as anticipated for those costs, but for the same 10 hours. And to date, the committee has raised $90,800 and some change. So the first 2 years are fully funded, and there is also a grant that was received from Alice Peck Day to be able to do, a mailing or printing of some kind. Marketing, yep. So that will be a part of the conversation moving forward as well.
You raised $90,000?
The community, so the Enfield Community Nursing Project, which was kind of it was the grassroots committee that kind of started and spawned into the greater piece that is now the formal Town of Enfield Committee.
This committee raised 90.
So actually, no, so there are 3 members currently present that were on the previous committee,
That's the committee that raised the 90,000.
which, yeah,
Over the last couple of years.
no, actually, the last,
9 months.
yeah,
Wow.
9 months.
Yeah,
Yep.
which is why I accepted the job of finance chair, because we have 3 years of funding, so I can sit back and drink tea for 3 years.
The bank account gets low, you'll pass it on.
I'll say I've done my duty on the committee. Just a word of thanks to some of the people who came or here. We were really overwhelmed with the response.
Yeah.
You can imagine just when we started out, most of us had never done any fundraising, and we sort of set this goal, and then we started getting response, and it was just
What did you do for fundraising? You just,
foundations.
Mhm.
One foundation gave 1/3 of that money.
Okay,
A local business gave, roughly speaking, another 1/3, quite unexpectedly. Individuals, our committee all gave, and then, we went out to individuals.
Mhm.
Some other local businesses.
Yeah,
Big
I-
local businesses.
yeah, did I leave any large category out?
I don't think so.
And I'm sure there's more money out there, but it would kind of be unseemly to to pad that bank account when we already went over our goal, so.
Well, some of the pieces to keep in mind as well is that making sure that we retain that, because there are other costs that could be associated, such as printings, mailings, or if they're, I guess in my mind, one of the things that I think of is that, if these 10 hours go well for 2024, what does 2025 look like? Does that look like we actually have an increased need? And maybe it would be, fruitful for us to consider if we can try to go for 15 hours or 10. And that was one of the things in the back of my mind with that amount, whether it's possible or what that looks like. I'm not quite sure yet, but that was,
have that
it's one of the ideas of what power that has to really be able to contribute to the services. If there's no further questions or comment from the board, we can open it to public comment. Hello.
Hello. My name is Sarah Copps, Copps, and my husband and I have lived on Klug Road for 5 years now. Before that, so this is our first time in New Hampshire, but before that, we lived about 25 years in Vermont, so we've been in northern New England for a while. I work at the senior center in Canaan, which is the Nisquoma area senior center, so it includes Enfield. And I write the newsletter, and I have included in the March newsletter an introduction to both of the nurses, and I've met Amanda, but not Rachel, right?
Yep.
I have a background in fundraising and running not-for-profits, and especially in New York, but I also was the development director of WISE for about 6 years. And if I can speak for both of us, we're very interested in being involved. If you are interested in having volunteers, we would love to be involved in whatever way you would like us to be involved. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Like,
Sure. Do you have something to say?
What made this an official committee of the town as opposed to the way it worked unofficially at the beginning?
So-
What turned it into someone that, the committee that is responsive to the open meeting law, et cetera?
So when, after the committee had raised the funding, when we signed when the town signed the contract with the city of Lebanon, that was when it was initiated to have the formal committee, which could then assist in kind of being a liaison for Ed, making recommendations to kind of how the program is going and getting feedback, and then being able to pass that on to report to the town manager.
It was
So
kind of the
it-
plan.
Yeah.
When we were going through the fundraising, I was meeting with that committee every now and then. And the plan was, once the town did enter into a contract, that we would have a formal town committee that helped. I don't know if I want to use the word oversight, but help, look at how the program was running, talking with the nurses, and then making recommendations back through Emily or to me about their changes or things that are going well, things that might need to be addressed. But
So the town pays Lebanon,
yes, through
Well,
this
10 hours.
fundraising payment.
town
yeah.
pays Lebanon, so you turn fundraising money over to the town and they pay Lebanon.
So there's a separate pot of money for the fundraising, and then that then pays the town to pay the contract.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, the Nurse Connection is, supports and helps these community nurses in like 10 or 11 towns in and around the Upper Valley, and they're actually branching out to other places. And, Kristen had let us know that, some of the towns that they've all been successful, none of them have failed. But the ones who are most secure were the ones that had town committees associated with them. So that was one of the things that channeled us to go in that direction rather than just doing it on our own.
I can say one more thing. I am very interested in the aging at home phenomenon. And I know the person who is helped start the Aging in Heartland program, and I'm personally interested in all of this, but also in the idea of, and that's something I discussed with Emily briefly, in sort of a wraparound or lots of wraparound services, all geared towards building community and having people know each other and care about each other and respond to each other, et cetera.
And in our discussion, just to kind of bring it before the committee, since we're talking about it, is I did bring it to Ed to see if it might be possible, and there could be in the future a subcommittee that helps with other volunteer efforts that may fall outside of the kind of protocols of how the community nurse functions in our town, but then maybe also help with some other supports that are there. So I think
Yeah, I think that's important that, this committee wouldn't be in charge of those groups, if you will, but if this continues forward, it may be good to just coordinate and work with some volunteer groups that are making sure that all those other things are happening. And it would be a good point of contact for those different groups to come to, so we can stay a little more organized than just those groups out there doing their own thing, that there's a little bit of cohesion and a central point to meet. And, once the nursing program, the community nursing program really starts rolling and we're happy with things are going, those little outside efforts, I think will really benefit the program and it'll give this committee something to be working on and thinking about it. So just something to keep in the back of mind.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would add to that is that for community nursing is not one iteration of one thing that spans across the Upper Valley. There are so many different ways that community nursing has evolved in the Upper Valley. Some are supported by specific 501c3s, some are supported by churches, some are completely integrated into the town. And so there's many different ways. And what I guess I would say to our committee is that many of those iterations were reviewed and assessed by the previous members to see kind of what that looked like, how it fit. You know, the town manager was consulted many times, and ultimately the opportunity presented itself to work with the city of Lebanon, which, as someone who works in emergency services, anytime that we can work with our mutual aid partners, and we already have a great standing relationship with them, I personally think it's a win-win, and I was really excited to work with them, especially because they're well established in how they've been operating and what they're doing. And so I thought that was a great introduction for our community. It does not mean that is the forever and always. However, again, there's many iterations of how you can have them. So
How is the referral process working? Like, is it just the, people that have repeat calls and falls in the home, or how are we? Like, is it, and when EMS goes out, are they making the referrals based upon the calls, or?
So they can. So the nurses spoke specifically with our EMS and fire departments so that if there were things, we have a way to kind of communicate that, because we also need to be aware of HIPAA laws and things of that
Sure.
nature. So it's a little bit of a balancing act, but so far, most of them have been kind of through the grapevine, like, hey, I heard this was happening. Who do I contact? And we get them connected. Or I know someone who was really interested, do you know how to get a hold of them? Or I've actually had the nurse reach out to me and say, hey, do you know so-and-so? I saw them at the gym and they were really interested in following up with this program. Okay, sure, let me get that. I can help you. And so, because they were open to the opportunity, and that's part of their presentation will go really well into that. So I think
Okay.
they can speak really well to all of those things, and
Okay.
we'll make sure they're scheduled for our next meeting.
Okay.
If I understand it from previous meetings, currently, if I meet somebody on the street who says, how do I refer someone? The answer is they call Lebanon Fire Department.
Yep, there's a
Is
referral
that-
process right online. Yep. Yeah, there's also, all of the information is also on our Town of Enfield website under the Community Nursing Committee. So there's a little sidebar that says, how do I make a referral? And that will give you all of the links and information. It gives you phone numbers, emails, and the link to the Lebanon City page where it talks about referrals as well.
How did you identify the qualifications of a referral? I mean, who are we targeting to? Is it just anybody that wants to talk to us, or how does that work?
I think especially right off the bat, anybody who wants to talk to us, because it's going to give us an idea of what our community members need. And so even if it's not something that maybe the community nurse can meet that need, it may give us an idea of, other volunteer efforts that may be fruitful to think about and consider. So I think any and all referrals of any kind are excellent. It's really the community nurses who are going to meet and assess what those needs are, and if they meet the needs for, having community nursing assistance. And again, they will speak to you more about exactly kind of how they do that process. But I wouldn't discourage anybody at this point from reaching out and saying, hey, what is this? And, kind of thinking about those needs. But when the nurses come, they'll give a solid outline of kind of what they do, what they do not do, which also may help steer your conversation with our community members.
Okay.
Dr. Bopay?
Chair.
Yeah.
Apologies.
That's okay. That's fine.
I'm Dave Buffet. I'm a retired primary care physician locally. spent about, almost 40 years, in practice here in town, including a lot of geriatrics, some home care, some coordination with the visiting nurses home and hospice, nursing. I applied for the committee, but was not chosen, and, I've got plenty of other stuff on my plate, so please. But, know some of the original, people, including Lord Harding, that, got this started in other communities, and have been interested in that. There's some, there's a new, I don't know its exact title, but, community health, physician at Dartmouth who lectured recently and had done, some programming that, led to a significant decrease in involuntary admissions, of, seniors, in Maine, before he moved here, and would be interested in contacting, a contact with your group. So, interested in health related things in this community and in this broader community, not just Enfield.
So when you say that, like getting, you said he lectured. Is that what you
Mhm.
said? He lectured, so just kind of as, further insight from him as.
Well, I think it'd be a good contact to see where there's overlap of, interests, because I think, he definitely had a lot of experience. I believe it was in the northern part of Maine, which has maybe even more, rural
Yeah,
issues than we have here, in terms of
so a good
services.
resource.
I can find that for you.
That would be great.
I take it that one of the roles of this committee is outreach and sort of getting out to towns, people generally, getting the word out, which makes me think of town meeting, which I hate to admit, I don't know when, but it's March, right? What date in March?
16th or 17th.
Yeah. That's before our next meeting. So is there any way we could have any kind of presence at town meeting? I was thinking of a table or something, but maybe that's too
You'd have to
ambitious.
talk to Lindsay, the moderator. Last year, they did have like the community power table out in the hallway outside of the meeting room. So
Yeah.
there's some legal rules and what you can and can't do about that. So I would talk to Lindsay about that and.
That's the way we've usually handled it.
Yeah.
And there's usually several tables.
That's something Vinnie wants to take on, having just formed and having real time to organize it. We have handouts. We still have materials that we could distribute, do you think, or they?
We have handouts. I don't have, I'm waiting to get printouts from the city of Lebanon themselves, because they had updated everything to be inclusive of Enfield and Grantham, so that everybody was kind of all in the same pamphlet, and that way it was very universal in how we could distribute it. So I had planned to bring those to this meeting. They weren't ready yet. I'm hoping maybe next week, or, at least by town meeting, I would imagine we should have them, but there's no guarantee on that.
Yeah.
We have some of the rack cards left.
I think if it's at all possible, we should go with the new ones. So that we're starting off, and I think that was when I met with the nurses to interview them for the newsletter. They were really hoping that we could just proceed with what they were coming up with, which at that point, I think they were at the final drafts that were gonna go to the printer, so.
Yeah,
They should be ready soon, I would think, or at least.
I've been in touch with Amanda on a
Yeah.
weekly basis, so she's been giving me updates.
It's been
She,
a while.
yeah, she was gonna try to get them to me for this week, but we were still waiting.
So my first thought is like that there would be an overwhelming need. And so then I'm like thinking about the 10 hours and then how can we meet the, community's needs overall, and I guess that'll be an evolving.
Yeah.
Evolving process of figuring all of those pieces out. But then, you know, you're talking about setting up a table at the town meeting for all those people that are homebound, that probably really do have the needs, like if we do have some sort of brochure or something, maybe providing it to the, you know, visiting nurses, Bayada, VNH.
Yeah, I'm thinking at town meeting that some of the attendees of town meeting may be sons and daughters of
Sure, of course.
potential clients.
Of
So
course.
give them a handout, they can take it home to mom.
Yeah, I think the
discuss
big,
it.
yeah, I think the biggest concern is like for a lot of the elderly population is there's quite a few people that are isolated to their home and they don't have a lot of support. And that's the reason why they get into a lot of trouble is because they don't, whether or not they're estranged from family members or not. So.
And may I speak again?
Yeah, well, let's just circle. So do you want to put a motion to see if anybody would want to be at the town hall? Is that something that,
I
I
don't know if we
mean,
need a
do
motion.
we need to, like, or is just like an agreement that someone can go and sit at a table, right? Because it would be one of us, I assume,
Hopefully several of us, but,
Yeah.
right?
What day of the week is town meeting?
Saturday.
March.
And it's March.
16th,
that is a Saturday.
No, it's a Saturday,
So that's.
March
the 23rd. Just
No, it's 16, 17.
17th, that's right. Yeah.
I might recommend that we reach out to the moderator first to just verify that it's a place to,
It's the 16th, as on their own.
Yeah.
And I guess the only feedback to the idea, I think it's a great idea. If we could have a nurse there, you know, I'd be happy to reach out and see if they would be able to maybe come even just for the first half an hour to an hour when people are milling in. That may be a helpful contributing factor, just because not everybody will be able to see the presentation to know kind of what we do, what we don't do, and kind of have a little bit more of a solid outline on some of those referral capacities. So I guess that would be my recommendation, is first reach out to town moderator and
I
then.
can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I can email Lindsay.
Okay.
Easily, and
I can make myself available that day.
I can't too.
Okay.
And will you
I will reach
contact
out
the
to
Lebanon
the,
nurses?
Yeah.
I think it would be great to have one there. You know, so we're not answering I quickly run out of real expertise on this issue and, having them there. I also have met them and I think they're really just impressive people,
Mhm.
which helps,
Okay. So it sounds like there's a plan maybe you'll just let Steve know if he can proceed, and then we don't need to discuss it in email. To avoid.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
just,
so here's,
the
here's
issue.
back
So
to
just,
your first issue. It's sort of,
you know,
okay.
Steve, you can let Emily know once you hear from Lindsay,
Right.
and then,
And then I can connect with you just
Yeah.
to verify, okay, we have the moderator, okay, I've spoken with the nurses, and then maybe get your verification
Yeah.
to send out an invitation email to the committee to say everybody is welcome to be at the table.
Okay.
And then-
But I can send an email to Cindy saying,
Yes,
are
please.
you gonna be there at 9:00? I mean, that's kosher under the,
well,
Yes.
once Emily, once Emily hears from you, then she'll flag me.
Yeah.
And I will send an email to everyone saying, this is available for anyone to come in. You can reply and say, I can be there.
Yeah, and we'll
That's it.
have a time outlined in the email, because I'm sure in discussing with Lindsay and the nurses, we'll have an idea of when people would be at the table to say, hey, feel free to come at such and such a time, and, right up until town meeting begins.
You can, so everyone will have a chance to reply. I can be there.
Basically, the 30 to 60 minutes is about what you.
Yeah.
Prior to the start of the meeting, which is 9:00 usually.
Mhm.
Love that. And if someone can stick around, you'll have people trickle in and out here and there, but
Mhm.
for the most part, it's coming in.
Good idea. Thank you.
Mrs. Cops.
Thank you. So if I can get some information and I could make up, a sheet, because we send out meals 5 days a week to, home delivered meals to vis-a-vis what you were saying, the homebound. In Enfield, probably 20-25 meals a day to just people in Enfield. We could stick that in the package and tell them about the home, about
idea.
the, about the nurses. Um, yeah.
So we'll have to wait when we have the
When
new,
we have the
the
printed
new printed
materials.
materials for that. Cause we're waiting for new printed materials.
Oh, okay.
That's a great idea. One of our previous members, does Meals on Wheels delivery.
That's Harrison.
Yes.
That's Harrison, and I think he's been talking about, that's very much the population that we have in mind.
Yes,
And people like him are going there
right, every day.
constantly. So that's great.
Dr. Coupe.
Has there, been any, connection with, people from Canaan? Cause it's the issues that, we're looking at, don't stop at the town boundary. There may be some intertown issues that, may get in the way, but that's certainly something that, as you look at the community health of the whole upper Mascoma River Valley, something that, at least I would like to see.
You guys can work with them, but, you know, the money and stuff was raised for Enfield Care.
Yeah.
It won't be
I realize that, but
outside, but
you sort of set up a parallel program or coordinate a program somewhere.
I think,
One thing we had talked about before was, trying to do some activity at, the Mascoma Community Health Center, which has a lot of Canaan, people. So it would be meeting the needs of Enfield residents who are attending the clinic. But if we were set up something like a table, or we were doing a blood pressure clinic there, or, you know, whatever else they would be okay with us doing there, we would be serving our population, but we'd also be educating people in Canaan. I think if Canaan wants a community nurse program, you know, it's up to them to set one up.
Yeah.
and it is being pushed regionally a lot.
I agree with you that there's a great need there.
Yeah.
Great need. Because I worked at the clinic, I know.
Yeah, so we both did. The dynamics are complicated, no question about that.
Mhm.
And this year, the flu clinics have, gone, are months in the past. But looking ahead to doing something in coordination with the Public Health Council, might be a possibility as well, that might engender some interest.
Thank you. Emma.
I know the nurses are trying, I know that, Mascoma Community Health has transitioned over to another agency, and the nurses are actively trying to make contact with them. If anybody has a point of contact directly there,
Bill
I would
Warren.
most greatly appreciate that information so that I can help get the
Bill
nurses.
Warren's on the board of the new merged,
I'm sorry, who's on the board?
Bill Warren.
Okay, do you have his contact information?
We can get it.
It's,
Yeah.
okay, all right, that's, yeah. No, just I'm trying to make sure I have a source for being able to do that.
We can't find it.
So we are at 6:29. Mindful of the time. Do we have any other business to discuss?
Can we just review, our next meeting is going to be,
So where did it looks like, yeah,
is that right, March 20th?
yeah, March 20th, and we'll have to scan for the remaining, like April 17th, May 22nd, June 19th, if any of those falls into a holiday. So obviously we'll have to shift. If it,
so March 20th.
March 20th.
5:30 to 6:30.
5:30.
And here in this room, same place. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'll have to stay. Thanks, everyone.
Emily, Ed, thanks for getting us this far. Kind of exciting. Yeah. So we're gonna take over the world. You wanna start a committee?
Keep forgetting to count yourself.
Let them fire.
See you later. See you. Thank you so much for coming here.
Ambition. Has made it so far.
Our next meeting, should I just request it?
Yeah, we'll be in touch. We can be in touch directly just as like a, hey, here's what I use. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. Like that's cool.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
See you next month.
Thanks, Tony.
I will work with.
I'm likely to be zooming good portion of the time.
Oh, okay.
For the
Oh, where are you when
It's
you're
gonna
not
be
here?
on the agenda.
San Diego.
I'll show you.
Oh, I see that.
Should be good to go.
Sit there.
But I got these.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
You're one freebie.
So then what happens if I have a
Oh,
call?
okay, that's good.
We'll have to.
Nice to meet you.
We'll have to-
Yeah.
We'll make sure it's taken care of.
Yeah, it's on you.
Probably. That's fine. It was so lovely to meet you. Thank you so very much.
Might take the long term and let's see, labyrinth.
I know. I did get lost the first time I came here.
I need to catch up on whatever you said out there.
Got you. Yeah, it
Figure out how
was
big this is gonna be. So
for,
just the committee, what is our objective? How big is it gonna be and all this stuff? I guess we'll learn as we go.
it will, yeah, so this is the maximum committee size. We're gonna have 7 committee members.
Don't worry about that. I'm worried about the objectives of the committee.
Excuse me, I got it. Excuse me. I need. Yeah.